Welcome to ACS News, where it's only news if it's new. Today we will be having a big old question for my good old friend Joe, and that's, what is SQL, also known as SQL? Okay, so what is SQL?
Well, as the screen says, it says Structured Query Language. That's what SQL stands for. It's a programming language used primarily in databases to store information.
Okay, so what all companies use this?
So think of any big company that you can think of. Let's think of Microsoft. Microsoft 100% uses this, and they do. And so does Meta, Apple, all those companies.
Oh, okay. So this is very important.
Yeah. And what it does, it allows users to perform tasks such as querying data, inserting, updating, and deleting records, and defining the structures and constraints of the database.
Oh, so it's storing all this in. So if it does all this, what is SQL injection?
So, Keaton, that is a type of cyber attack that targets databases through vulnerable input forms or queries.
Okay. And how does it do that?
So, you know where you log in on, like, let's say Instagram, like where you have to type in your password?
Yeah, like I put in my password, my username.
On websites that are vulnerable to SQL injection, you can put SQL code into that text box, and it will run that code from there on the database. And this could lead to unauthorized access, data theft, data manipulation, or even full control over the database.
Okay, let's
So
see.
this right here is kind of an example of what SQL injection is. So we have the login, and then this guy put in his password. And then right under here is the SQL statement in the actual website.
Okay, cool.
And so this guy is putting his password in right here, or his username and password. But if we want to SQL inject, we can put this, and if we look at the bottom here, select from users to where user ID is this, and you see how we added that in the user ID form? We finished that because up here in the one where he just put in his username, it has two, one on the beginning and one on the end. But if we put ours in there, it's like we're adding our own, and then we can start running our own code. So we put or 1 equals 1, and so if you do this, if you have the password or 1 equals 1, one of those has to be true in order for it to work. And then we have the closing, the statement, and then we have a comment right here.
So you could get into anybody's information using this, even like the developer?
Yeah, you can get into any account if it's vulnerable with this.
Man.
And yeah, don't try that on any websites. It probably won't work because they have defenses against it, but if it does and they find you, you're going to go to jail.
You could, yeah, possibly. Okay, so how do you prevent this SQL
So
injection?
there are many ways, but the way we used for our project is parameterized queries, which, so if we remember from here, it says select from users where user ID equals blah, 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 and password equals blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So instead we put user ID equals question mark and password equals question mark, and that will act as a placeholder for what we do later. So in this one right here, you see how he has a question mark around here?
Yeah.
He puts in the actual stuff later on, so he can't manipulate this code. So if this was a password, it would put a question mark, and then it would get the password from the input box and put that back up here, so he can't manipulate anything.
That's cool.
But there's also another thing. So you know how, like, when you're making a password or you're making a username, it's like you can't put certain symbols in your username.
Yeah.
So this is what this is. So
Oh.
with SQL code, some of the certain symbols do certain different things.
Hmm.
So people make it so you can't even put that in there.
That is very cool. So that's why whenever I try to put in like my name and then underscore, sometimes it's like, don't do that. Oh, no spaces, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the least privilege principle is so you only have certain access to certain databases.
Mhm.
So let's say you're trying to search for like your something and you put in a SQL. It only has access to a certain database, not the whole entire thing.
That's cool.
So it's like if you make it into the database, it won't cause as much damage as having the full database. And that's about it for our presentation.
So since that's it, do you have any final words?
Donate to STEM. Thank you for watching.
Okay. Thank you. And if you want a little bit more in depth, come to us. We are in the STEM part of the room. So come and talk to us, and we will go more in depth into this if you want. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Yo, listen up. Let me tell you about a threat that's in the database. You gotta bet. It's called SQL injection, a hacker's delight. But without proper defense, we can put up a fight. Yo. All right.